Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for Leo season 2026. I hope you are well, Cancer. I'm using the 777 Bulgarian deck for you today. Now, before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping. If the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is via links in the description box beneath this video here. First link takes you to Selfie if you just want the standalone for this reading here. But if you want access to more of the extended content that I make, which is a significant amount, then you might consider coming over to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix on the Circle platform. There you can get all of the extended content for all the signs every month. You also get the weekly energy reading, which is often upwards of 45 minutes, depending on how intense the energies are. And you can come participate in the deck and walk, which has proven to be nothing short of life-changing, frankly. We are walking the sun through 10 degrees of the sky. And if you ever wondered about the crossover between tarot and astrology, the deck and walk is it. If you join at the higher tier, then you can come participate in the live classes that we run over there and also get access to all of the recordings for all of the classes that we have done in the last 19 months now, which is a significant number. So, yeah, I'm running a free trial over there for a week, so come over, have a look, see if you like it. If you like it, stay. Simple as that, really. Right, let's get on with the reading. So let's flip this over and have a chat about what we're actually going to do here today. First, I need to apologise if you can hear any grinding in the background. My partner is enthusiastically constructing something, but I didn't want to wait any longer than necessary to get this video out to you. So. That's point number one. Point number two, we are going to start off with the most important question that you can ask yourself in 2026, which is simply, where am I right now? I would imagine for you, Cancer, a few things have shifted. Obviously, the Mercury retrograde was in your sign, and although he is now moving direct, we're still very much in the shadow period of that. So there's probably a little bit of assimilation of the themes that were coming up for you during that time. So we'll look at that. And then in the second question, inspired actually by the deck and walk, we're going to have a look at and see where there's still a little bit of stickiness, a little bit of knottiness, and what you can do to embody your way out of it, frankly. That seems to be the way that it's gone this month. And then in the second, then we'll finish up with the second most important question that you can ask yourself in 2026, which is, what is my next step? That's it. That's all you need to know. We don't need to be planning where you're going to be this time next year or anything like that. It is simply, what is my next step? So I hope that's okay for you. That's what I have. In the extended, we will expand upon any of the themes that show up here. Yeah, we'll do that. So Moon is at the bottom of the deck. Seems like a good place to stop. Tell me where Cancer is right now, please. We have the Six of Swords. We have the Hanged Man. I'm going to take that as sideways. And one more card for Cancer, please. Thank you. We have the Seven of Pentacles, and we do also have the Sun at the bottom of the deck. And I'm actually really pleased to see this combination. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think the process of Leo season and all of its associated complexity, because there will be some, but Cancer, you can feel this. I think this Mercury retrograde was actually quite an important staging for what happens next over the course of Leo season. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we've got Jupiter in Leo at the moment. I think Mercury is coming into Leo very, very soon too. So we've got those two bodies in there. But the South Node is already there if you follow the true node. If you follow the mean node, it's not going to be too long behind it, a week or so behind it. And we will also be having a solar eclipse, a fairly major solar eclipse in Leo. That's making a lot of noise on one side of the chart. On the other side of the chart, in Aquarius, the opposite sign to Leo, we also have Pluto, who is going out of bounds the same day of the lunar eclipse. So Pluto is sitting in opposition to what's going on in Leo, and obviously the North Node is there now as well. So that part of your chart, and everybody has a part of their chart that is ruled by Leo and Aquarius, really is going to start getting quite noisy. And this whatever's gone on for you during the retrograde, I do feel like that was an important staging for the movements that happen here. Like I said, it's not quite complete, but that's okay, because I feel like the infusion of energy that this solar eclipse is going to bring, sun energy down there, and the associated shifts in consciousness that are probably going to come from that too, is what this season is all about for you, because the Six of Swords is about movement. I was actually just talking about this. I was using this card as an example this morning when I was talking about Leo 2 in the Decans. And it wasn't actually specific to Leo at all, but what I was talking about was this notion that I have that the 5s and the 6s almost need to be read in tandem, because there is a flow of energy that is moving from one to the other. And you could say that that was true for all of the cards in the minor arcana, Ace to 2, 2 to 3, so on and so forth. But because it's a midpoint in the cycle, it's a turning point where we're leaving behind certain ideas, thoughts, emotions that went into the beginning part of that. And through the instability and the chaos of the 5, we get to the 6, which is always about creating a little bit of distance between you and whatever the problematic thing is, whether the problem is part of what's going on in your head, your worldview, your perception, that sort of thing, or whether it's quite literally circumstances and situations that you find yourself within, right? So where you are right now very much is in the I'm moving away from that, whether the that in the sentence is a situation, a set of circumstances, or whether it's a belief framework. It can be any of these things, with it being swords. Sometimes it's about leaving behind a part of you that actually isn't really going to function as well as you would like in whatever happens next. Why? Because you've outgrown it. And I think even, the fact that we've got the 7 of Pentacles here, and all those 7s, if the 6s are the movement, and the 7 becomes the analysis of what the fuck just happened. The 7s are also associated for me very, very strongly across the board in leaving behind a comfort zone that we've realized we're too big for. Now, whatever happens outside of you has a corresponding internal initiation first. And I do think that that's what's happened here, because although these are not consecutive in terms of element, excuse me, we go from air to earth here. It feels more like there's an internal shift in your thinking about things, which is coming close to a realization. And I do feel like the Hanged Man and the Sun together are really a point of incredible revelation, where something synthesizes in a way that it had not before. The work is already starting. And the net result of this is we're getting ready to shift out of a comfort zone. But what we're waiting for is for the Hanged Man to turn the right way up. Or even reverse, actually. To be honest, either of those would work. To be fair, I think actually the reversal of that might be better. Now, to explain the sideways card here, I do not feel like this is a redundant position, ever. It's either speaking to one of two things. It is an energy that is shuffling into position, getting ready to be activated, and that fits very much with what we were talking about a second ago. Or it is an energy that we have caught in a snapshot of time that is in the process of shifting in one direction or another. And we have hit this midpoint with where we're at, right? We're not quite there yet. It's going to happen over Leo season, one way or the other. And the reason that I would prefer it to be in the reverse is because although the Hanged Man is a card of suspension and surrender and submission sometimes, it's a card of stasis. It's a card of standing still. And for me, it doesn't really fit with the energy of the other cards that are on the table. Whereas if it shows up in the reverse like this, what we have is a situation whereby we have suspended ourselves. We have turned ourselves upside down. We have looked at things from enough different perspectives that we have shifted our own, almost holistically, in the search for that. And really, you've got a representation of every single element on the table. We've got air, we've got water, we've got earth, We've got fire here. It's like the emotional catching up is what we're waiting for, because I think it's one thing to know something, but it's quite another to feel it. And for a sign like you, Cancer, it has to be felt, right? All of your actions come from the emotions first. In fact, to some extent, I could say it's quite interesting that the thinking has changed before the emotions have. For most people, it happens the other way around, and because for water signs, the emotional pull of something is quite often what will push them in that direction. But then, I mean, we're looking at this and not really looking at what preceded it. I mean, there could have been a deep emotional shift here that led to this, that is leading to a excuse me, a bigger emotional shift, which is the thing that's going to start pushing you out of your comfort zone, because you're done. I really do think you're done. Like Seven of Pentacles is an interesting card because it's often a card of the environment, right? At least on first pass, whereby we're looking around and we're like, I don't know what's off, but something about what I'm looking at isn't really doing it for me anymore. In the Waite-Smith, we've got a guy who's leaning on his hoe and he's looking at this bush of pentacles that he's growing, and it's not giving him the yield that he expected. Now, what I like about the Seven of Pentacles is it represents that pause. Certainly in the Waite-Smith. Let me see if I can pull it out and I'll show you what I mean. Oh, God, that never happens ever. It's the fucking second from the top. It's usually the last card. So we've got this guy here. And although you can't really tell in the coloration of this card, the leaves are browning. The idea is that the leaves are browning, and he's looking at it and going, well, shit, I need to do a thing, but I don't really know what to do. And he's kind of reached this point where he's needing to consider other options. Now, to stand there and do nothing is an option. But I think the standing there and doing nothing is while we're trying to work out what the actual problem is in the first place. So if, for example, as has happened to my tomatoes, 2 years on a trot, like, although they're very, very sun-loving plants, the sun in the country that I live in can sometimes be a little bit too intense, and it can cause them to quite literally crisp up. That kind of issue with the plant itself, and obviously I'm speaking metaphorically, would be better resolved with a shade cloth over the top than it would be in furiously pruning it, for example, right? That's not actually going to deal with the problem as is. And so I like the fact that this Seven of Pentacles is like, hang on, what's wrong with this picture? And then we start to get into the analytical, the problem solving that we associate with sevens anyway. Where we try and make the right move for the best. Now, sometimes people will go, oh, well, maybe it's all right. Maybe it'll just sort itself out. But in that case, the decision to remain static is also a choice. The decision to do nothing is a choice. So what I see here is that although it may feel a little bit like you are treading water at the moment, Cancer, the reality of the situation is that I think this is a synthesis issue. We're just waiting for the emotions to catch up with what you're thinking about and the direction that your thinking is going in before, and using that information to examine what appears to be an environmental issue. Now, obviously, when we dig a little deeper into this card, really what we're talking about is you being out of alignment with your environment. It's not the environment's fault. It's not your fault. It's just time to move on, because you've outgrown the space. Like, this is just not working for either of you anymore, which is to say the environment or the people. I mean, it's speaking to a deeper level shift always, I think, than it appears on the surface. Now, let's have a little look at this Hanged Man. See what... Oh, we have two cards. So there you are, Queen of Cups and the Son of Swords. So there we go. Look, we've got the synthesis of the two, exactly the same two elements, water and air. And we've got the Four of Wands at the bottom of the deck, which is speaking to the creation of a new foundation. Now, wherever you are moving off from to, like, this doesn't feel like it's as clear as we would like it to be right right now. But at the same time, I do think that there is a burgeoning trust that whatever this is, see, the focus, although we could say that the Six of Swords is moving away from something, and so then it represents a contraction or a loss or a, some sort of absence of something. It feels like much more is being gained at this point than being lost. And what's being gained is being funneled into the new foundation. And so the synthesis between emotion and mind is the foundation. And it's speaking to a kind of consciousness shift that we can absolutely see is underway here, although not yet complete. And really won't be complete until such time as you have completely integrated everything that you've learned and started the process of embodying that shift in consciousness, right? At which point, I think whatever is problematic about the Seven of Pentacles and where you find yourself right now is actually probably going to largely sort itself out. It's not something that requires desperate, frantic action from you. It simply needs recognizing. And in the recognizing, then the conditions are met for change. All right. More specifically, the conditions are met for an active outward expression of change, because I think that stuff is happening inside already. This is fascinating, Cancer. I mean, again, super complex as we would expect from you. But it's interesting because it doesn't have the quality, which sometimes this kind of energy can do, of a liminal space, right? Or even, I think, did I refer to it as a holding pattern before? It doesn't even feel like that either. It just feels like it's a slow clicking over of certain things starting to click into place. And there's a kind of patience here that you feel to me like you're exhibiting in allowing that to happen rather than trying to force it. The Son of Swords, this Knight of Swords here, it's Gemini energy. And let's not forget Uranus is in Gemini, right? He appears to be flying at the behest of this swan, of this Queen of Cups. She's saying, go that way, do that thing. And the knight doing what he does is just being like, I'm off, I'm away, here I go. But the Queen is really the one who is directing all of this. Or at least she will be able to when all the pieces of the puzzle have clicked into place. And I don't feel a desperate need to change things up for you just yet until that process is undergone, which is really interesting. So let's have a look at the stickiness, if indeed there is any. I mean, some signs have not had any stickiness at all. So we have the Emperor. We have another card and another card. Let's have a look. So that one came out first. We have the interesting Five of Swords on its side. I have the Page of Wands. Now, the Emperor is Aries energy, right? So let's put these two up here. Let's try and keep it relatively tidy, right? But the Emperor is about strategy. He's about planning. It's cardinal fire, so it actually sits at a 90-degree angle to you, Cancer, as you are cardinal water, right? It's just clicked around 90 degrees around the circle. The stickiness here is in the kind of tangled fog that the logistics of all of this seem to be containing right now. Like I said, you seem to be exhibiting a kind of patience, which is actually really quite exemplary under the circumstances. But it doesn't feel right now like that patience is really giving you the emotional insight that you are looking for. Why? Because the Seven of Cups is associated truly with that kind of illusion, the fog, the things not being crystal clear at all. What do we have underneath that? Two of Cups. And maybe with that Two of Cups underneath there, it is the relationships that are attached to whatever is going on with you at the moment that are actually proving to be the biggest sticking point. Because what the Emperor wants to do is take charge. Like, hands down, all the time, that's what the Emperor wants to do. He is a figurehead and he delegates a certain number of tasks, right? But he's in charge of the overall strategy. And from his vision and his leadership Everybody kind of knows what they're doing, right? They've all been given a job and they all go off and do it. And that's all cool. But notice here, we've got the Page of Wands in the reverse, and we've got the Five of Swords appearing on its side. And this is really interesting because it feels to me like the Five of Swords is the thing that is causing the page to be reversed for you. The Page of Wands is getting ready for that journey, right? It's full of enthusiasm and vim and vigor and being like, oh, I'm really excited. I'm going to go and do a thing now. He hasn't quite left to do the thing, but he's excited about doing the thing and implementing changes, we might say, and you know, just taking a path that 6 months ago didn't look like it was the one that you were going to take. There's always a kind of novelty where the pages are concerned, right? Not necessarily in terms of where you're going, but a novelty in your willingness to go this way. So this Five of Swords feels a little bit sticky. And we'll notice that we've got the Six of Swords up here. And I wonder if it's because the lack of clarity that you're dealing with at the moment, the lack of clarity around how you feel about what's going on at the moment, the relationships that may be proving to be impediments to just that straight up, I'm going to go off and do something else. Now, I don't like to refer to relationships as impediments, right? But at the same time, there seems to be a stickiness around those relationships. And I wonder if it is the relationships that are causing the fog. Absent those relationships, would you still be as confused about your next steps? I would suspect possibly not, which means that the relationships are part of the process that need to be unpicked. Now, do you remember what I said about sevens always indicating a level of being ready to leave a comfort zone, right? When things feel foggy in front of us, it is because we've turned somehow. And whether we realize that we've turned or not, like what was perfectly clear, somewhat predictable and a little bit linear in front of us doesn't have that same quality anymore. Why? Because there's been an internal shift and now we're pointing in a slightly different direction. You know, the Seven of Pentacles will also speak to that too. And we've got the analysis that is kind of kicking in here where we're trying to understand what is happening to us at the same time as it is happening to us. So there's a desire to take control and there's a desire to begin to implement, even beginning to design the strategy in your head, but not yet being at a point where you can action it. And then this slightly sticky energy of the Five of Swords sitting in the middle. Now, I wonder if your movement away from, or at least your perception of your own intellectual movement is a little bit previous, maybe a little bit premature, and that there are things that are still changing at this point. Because in the case of the Six of Swords here, despite the number of people that appear to be in this boat right here, that generally speaking, the interpretation is not that we're taking everybody with us, as much as Cancer would like to take everybody with us. Not always is it shown that everybody is getting in the boat, right? Normally it's just a guy, like a gondolier guy, and a woman and a child sat in the boat. And so I wonder if you've been a little bit premature, and this is part of what is almost intensifying the fog around this moment, thinking perhaps that all the information's there, maybe I just need to lean into feeling it a little bit more, rather than the possibility that the stage is not yet quite set. There's still a little bit of internal stuff that needs straightening out. I mean, ideally, we would want this Five of Swords to be showing up in the reverse like this. It's a stabilization of the chaotic energy when we do that, but that's not what we're seeing. So, you know, is this an energy that is shuffling into view to show us where there are still some things to work on? Or is this just a longer process, right? Are there more things changing in your mind than currently you're aware of? That's entirely possible. I would advocate not trying to run before you can walk, Cancer. I think given that the Four of Wands is at the bottom of the deck, we are still very much in creating that foundation. And when it's solid enough to support what comes thereafter, then I think the Page of Wands will be in the upright. But there are certain things that require synthesis that aren't quite there yet. And possibly they may only start to click into positions such as you are able to take charge and strategize off the back of it when we've kind of made connection with this idea of what it is about you that is changing and how that informs what you're seeing when you're looking there. And when that work is done, starting to realize that there are a few other things in the mix that require sorting. I mean, I keep using the word complex, but I think it's a really good word to describe what I'm seeing here, because there is something that exists only in the abstract right now. And there's a desire to make it concrete, but first we've got to make space for it. And there's this ripple between the emotions and the thoughts and the actions and even the valuation that you are conducting on all the aspects of your life right now, with the added impediment, obstacle, challenge, whatever you would like to call it, of the relationships that are somehow attached to where you are right now. I feel like that sort of sigh is the kind of sigh that the Emperor will be doing here, being like, it's not ready for me to create a unified field theory of cancer and what cancer does next. All right, not me, you, obviously. But at the same time, there's a sagacity that sits within the Emperor. Remember that he is the King of Kings, right? So every one of the kings is an aspect of the Emperor here. That recognizes that if it is, although the best expression of Emperor energy and King energy is in the outward flow of interacting with stuff and exerting that kind of masculine force on things, which is simply to say the doing of something. Sometimes it's about biding your time and being patient and waiting a situation out. Because what's clear is, as much as you would like to, there isn't actually a grand force of movement here. There is no. There are 57 different things, just plucking a number out of my head here, that are going to have to be quietly unpicked and felt through in sequence. And we can't hop around from one to the next. Like they've got to be done in sequence, because each one unlocks the next one, which unlocks the next one, and so on and so forth. Right? And I do wonder if the things that you are trying to feel your way around right now, actually, all of the activity in Leo and Aquarius is part of the catalyzation for you. It's possible. I mean, that's an Aquarius card right there. But it could be also that the things that are seemingly difficult at the moment, and remember, we've just come off the back of a Mercury retrograde in Cancer. We are still in the shadow period. Things aren't necessarily making a whole lot of sense right now. Maybe actually your attention is going to switch to a different part of your chart versus what you thought you were going to be dealing with. Remember that eclipse seasons are chaotic by design, but there are great strides that we can make forward during that time if we allow ourselves to be sucked through the body of the dragon. So let's have a look and see what is Cancer's next step, please. What's going on here? It's Cancer's next step. So we have the Seven of Wands. There's another 7, and a 3 of Pentacles. And we have the Queen of Swords. Not your queen, interestingly, but not an enemy to you either. In terms of the next step, you notice here that there's actually something... I don't want to say that there is a contraction here, but I'm struggling to find a word that kind of fits more closely with what I mean. And the reason that I say that is because although once we recognize that we are in a comfort zone and we're ready to leave it, there is a great desire, there's an impetus actually to get away from it as quickly as possible and get into the new. Humans are weirdly wired like that sometimes. this Seven of Wands is asking you to bide your time with it, right? It's Mars in Leo. It's not hold up, stop, don't move at all. It feels like diversifying your attention away from the thing that you thought was going to be what you were going to be focusing on, and diffusing that energy out into things that are adjacent at this point. The reason that I say that is because the Three of Pentacles is here. Now, the Three of Pentacles is a doing card. It's about bringing people together, teamwork, cooperation, collaboration. It is not about striking out on one's own. Now, I'm not suggesting that your awareness of being in a comfort zone is incorrect. Far from it. And I'm not necessarily saying that you need to dispel all thoughts of working with these people again. But for now, there seems to be something about helping you understand your own processes that working with people and kind of working sideways seems to be bringing to the table. It's not asking you to go forwards. It's not asking you to go backwards. It's asking you to move laterally. Ten of Pentacles is interesting because it is a card of endings, but I wonder if there is a way that you can cooperate and collaborate with people that brings things to a natural conclusion rather than one that you're trying to force because you've got a sense that something somewhere is out of alignment and now you have to shift off. What do we have under there? Nine of Swords. It's quite interesting because it actually feels like your brain is going, this is the direction that I need to go in. But over the course of Leo season, what you're going to see is an amplification of concern, worry, anxiety in and around the people around you that I don't think is related to you and your activities at all, Cancer. But there is an opportunity here to do some real good, whilst simultaneously deepening your understanding of what has felt so elusive to you up until this point. You know, Six of Swords to Five of Swords on its side, right? There's a bit of work here that needs to go on with all of this. The Queen of Swords is absolutely an ally in helping you analyze all of that. But she's saying work together with people and work together with people who are around you right now. It's not about going off and finding new ones. It is very much the environment that you find yourself in, not because you're staying there long term. Maybe actually this is part of the acceleration process that helps you identify exactly what it is that is wrong here so that you can move off and move away. Lateral movement, which is a little bit frustrating, but then you think about the fact that you're Cancer, and actually lateral movement is what crabs do. They don't move forwards, they don't move backwards, they go sideways. And on this occasion, I do feel like the sideways movement is your best friend at this point. This is absolutely fascinating, Cancer. Again, I want to reiterate, it doesn't mean you're stuck where you are. I actually feel like it's the reverse. I feel like you're leaning into what helps to bring all of this together. It's just not looking the way that you thought it would, which is really, really interesting. So on that note, I'm going to go over to the extended. If you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Selfie. You can do that on Circle. I would be delighted to see you in either place. And links, of course, are in the description box below. But other than that, all told, I don't think that this is a bad place to be at all, Cancer. There feels like there's something that helps weather turbulence about this solid space that you're operating from with the lateral movement. But there is also something that is bringing an understanding about all of that. And that's more valuable than gold for you at this point, I think. So lean into it, go with it, and move sideways. Fascinating. Right. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.